Okay, I haven't done an actual and car as of late. I think the last one was that 99 Accord. Anyways, let's look at a brand new competitive segment, the ultra competitive small crossover. And yeah, let's look at Nissan's smaller of their two entries in this segment, the 2020 Nissan Rogue Sport S. Um, I'll try to make this interesting. Forget the sedanocalypse. We are past that. We are deep into the small crossover explosion. In the uber, ultra, mega, competitive, compact, and subcompact crossover segments, Nissan has long had entries being the Rogue, the Juke, and now the Kicks. But we are at a point where those segments are not enough. Manufacturers are now splitting the difference and slotting crossovers between those traditional offerings. This is where the Rogue Sport sits. While already a model available in Europe and Asia under the Qashqai, in 2017, Nissan made it available in the United States and Canada for the first time, replacing the Rogue Select, which was actually a first generation Rogue under a slightly different name for a couple extra years while the second generation was available. The Qashqai, oh, actually, I think that's Qashqai. Yeah, that would become the Rogue Sport in the United States. Now, Nissan claims this is to bring brand synergy or whatnot to the slightly larger Rogue, which, considering both sit on Nissan's CMF-CD platform and share many components. Heck, they include their sale numbers of the Rogue Sport with total Rogue sales, despite both being definitely their own separate vehicles. Despite their claims, Nissan insists that it's not because Americans are dumb and wouldn't be able to pronounce Qashqai, and yeah, I understand I pronounced it wrong at the start of this video, but yeah, I would not put it past them to make such a decision. Keep in mind, America is the only market where this vehicle isn't called the Qashqai. Even Canada keeps the original name. Trust me, I'm a dumb American. So yeah, much like the confusion Ford's facing between their new Bronco and Bronco Sport models, but even more muddled as both models sit on the same platform and are very similar in overall size. But yeah, I truly believe that the name is because we are dumb, like me. But the Rogue Sport has kind of become its own American thing as the 2020 refresh model, which gave it Nissan's current corporate face, and the overseas Qashqai was recently introduced for third generation. I would say that this is a mid-cycle refresh in the United States, and I would expect an all-new Rogue Sport for either 2022 or 2023. So, considering this is a relatively new model with not much history, let's talk about what the Rogue Sport gets you. For drivetrain, not much. You only have the 2-liter MR20DD 4-cylinder that produces 141 horsepower and 147 foot-pounds of torque. Unlike the smaller Kicks, you do have all-wheel drive as an option, but the only available transmission you get is Nissan's Xtronic CVT. This is the transmission that from the start gave CVTs a bad name. You know, with older CVTs where, compared to a regular automatic, that they made the car just feel lazier and felt like they were intentionally missing the torque band of the engine? It's 2020, and despite almost every manufacturer figuring out how to maximize the performance with CVTs, like making them feel non-existent like my Malibu, which is a plus of a good CVT, or even tuning them to mimic a traditional automatic, which I don't really care for. But just leaving a stoplight is a miserable experience in the Rogue Sport. It simply does not want to go while in the normal driving mode. Now in Sport, things do get a little better as the throttle response goes from being offensively slow to just meh. Also, while it isn't noticeable at speed on country roads, the electronic power steering feels incredibly vague and lazy at slow parking lot speeds. It feels like an old, overboosted power steering system. And honestly, that complaint of the steering is just nitpicking compared to the lackadaisical throttle response. Yeah, the throttle response is just that bad. Anyways, despite being a base model cheap crossover, you do get some decent stuff inside standard. Satellite radio, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, emergency braking, pedestrian detection, hill start assist, which I don't really get with it being not a stick shift, blind spot warning, and various other safety nannies. Now, that's all good tech to have standard, but if you go to Nissan's website, you get plenty of stuff that you wouldn't think twice of being standard in a 2020 car. Like 16-inch steel wheels, cruise control for some reason, a spoiler, 60/40 split folded rear seat, and seating for 5. Excuse me, cruise control is an option? What is this, 1990? But yeah, the 2020 Nissan Rogue Sport is a cheap car. The S starts at $23,240, and the top of the line SL starts at $28,450. Inside, despite being a cheap car, it really isn't that bad. In fact, the materials are on par or maybe better than my 2019 Chevy Malibu LS. Yeah, the S has plenty of dead buttons, but whatever, it's a base model cheap car. The only thing I knock it compared to the Chevy is that the screen feels less responsive compared to what Chevy is offering. Anyways, for a small crossover, it's surprisingly roomy inside. 6'3" fat guys fit perfectly fine up front, and my tall and fat frame sits perfectly fine in the back seat. I would argue that I even have more headroom in the back compared to the front, but legroom is a little cramped back there, and the narrow door opening makes someone with knee issues like me struggle to get in and out. But yeah, the doors have a surprising amount of heft to them for a cheap crossover, and the hood is shockingly heavy for such a car. Like, why? It's kind of a clamshell, a truck design that's become popular as of late, but this thing's heavy. You'd think that they would make it out of aluminum like Chevy does for weight savings, but yeah, this is a stout hood. Just don't look closely at the body gaps. Anyways, I'm sure I've said anyways like 5 times already, but the 2020 Nissan Rogue Sport S is a perfectly fine cheap car. Personally, it's kind of redundant with the smaller kicks and slightly larger Rogue, not really being large jumps in size. Heck, you could easily get into a Sentra for slightly cheaper, and it doesn't have the tall footprint of the Rogue Sport. But because we haven't gotten a Sentra hatch since the 1980s, this is the closest thing we can get. It's just a perfectly meh car. But I would personally go for the cheaper sedan over the compact crossover. Heck, I would go with the kicks over this because the kicks at least kind of looks kind of cool. But yeah, in conclusion, 2020 Nissan Rogue Sport S is a perfectly fine, cheap, subcompact crossover. This has been a rare new car review from the Wookie, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you once again for watching another episode of Wookie Drives. This week's episode comes courtesy of Keith of Mooresville, North Carolina, who was gracious enough to let me film his loaner while his A35 Maxima was in the shop. You may remember that car from my A35 Maxima review. If you have a car or truck that you'd like to see on the show and you happen to be in the Charlotte, Mooresville, North Carolina area, you can submit it by emailing me at wookiedrives@gmail.com. That's wookiedrives@gmail.com. Anyways, be sure to follow my Facebook page at facebook.com/wookiedrives for channel updates. Follow my Twitter and Instagram at WookieAutomoTV for more Wookie rants, raves, and shenanigans. And I just started a TikTok at WookieAutomoTV for whatever small, short, brain puke videos that I may make. I'm probably going to make some of those over there instead of here on the main channel. But yeah, check that out. Be sure to share this video with all your friends, hit that like button, leave a comment with some feedback, and subscribe for more Wookie Drives like these. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.